Welcome back to another episode of Spoiler Talk, where we talk spoilers. I'm Jax.
And I'm Keiran. And this week we spoil The Mandalorian, Chapter 10, Season 2, Episode 2.
And it's actually called The Passenger as well.
Oh,
so there's an actual title of it as well.
Is, yeah. Jax, what did you think of this episode of The Mandalorian?
Alright, so let's get straight into it. I was so excited from last week. So I'm on just a high of the show. So it starts. And, I mean, we'll get into bit by bit, but just generally, I'm so in the whole time. Then the episode kind of ends and they're going off, and I just kind of went, you know what? I don't feel like I've got anything to chew on for the week. I've had a blast, and I watched it 24 hours ago, and I've seen it twice. So when I say I didn't love it, but I almost did. I almost loved it. But part of me is like, all right, this is another episode of the week. And I feel like I've said I want to just have little bits where Mando just does a thing. Yeah. And this is very much he just does a thing. And I love that about it. But I was also like, you know what? I kind of wish there was just one more element, something in there as well that makes me go, all right, that's why this episode was here. It's a great kind of starting off point, great monster stuff. There's some really interesting family themes kind of interwoven with them and the enemy and everything. But overall, especially because episode 1 was chapter 9, the first of the season was so spectacular. I was like, I remember last week, I was like, I wonder if there's going to be an episode that, like, it's just such an episode of the week that we're like, fuck, we're doing this week by week.
Season 1 again.
Season 1 again. And you were like, will any of them be? Will any of them be episode of the week? So I was like, oh fuck, maybe they won't be. They will be, they are. It is what it is. The first thing I noticed is it's 40 minutes long. It's 35 minutes. Of actual stuff.
Yep.
And that 35 minutes is spectacular stuff.
But it's not, it begins nothing, it ends nothing. It really feels very much like the in-between point in the show. And the funny part is that Disney Plus are choosing this method of broadcast, this week-by-week streaming service release schedule. And it's interesting to put it up against something like Netflix. And a show like The Haunting of Bly Manor that I watched in its entirety recently, where those episodes really felt like beginning, middle, and end each episode.
Oh,
but they don't need to be.
Yeah.
Because you get the whole thing.
Yeah.
And obviously it's an 8-hour movie in a sense, Bly Manor, much like The Mandalorian will end up being, more like 6 hours at this rate. But Bly Manor has like episode 4, I think it was, like really felt like an episode. Whereas Mandalorian is very much, it's halfway between like the serialized drama and the episode of the week. I really don't know how to feel about it. I love the show. The show's just so magnificent. It's so fun being in this world that even a disappointment with the resolution, which is probably my biggest beef with the episode, it's still all fun. There's like you said, what was it? Themes of family. The thing I got the theme of was the eggs. So many eggs.
Yeah.
Eggs. Fertility. Oh, what's going on? Are they going to keep... Yeah.
Yeah, because
maybe it was nothing, because it was only 2 things.
Well, the thing I thought was interesting is the main episode this is essentially the exact same as episode 2 of last season, where it's Mando just does a little thing, and him and Baby Yoda, their relationship develops.
Yeah, sure.
And in episode 2 of season 1 and in episode 2 of season 2, the Razor Crest ends the episode completely fucking destroyed, which is a really weird and fun callback. And also it just has like, the third act element is just Mando versus monster. First time Mudhorn in a mud pit fight, this time big eye spider with
You've thought way more about this than I have.
Okay.
I didn't even make these connections.
Let me also go. So the episode is about him taking Frog Lady, and Frog Lady has like her eggs in a little basket of water. I should have brought a mandarin and eaten it whole. You can see Joanne that later.
I was so angry at Baby. I was like, that is so unreasonable. She just said no, but he doesn't know.
That's probably that element of the episode I thought was so spectacular, because Baby Yoda starts eating these eggs, which is the last lineage of this race of frog people. And this frog lady kind of implies that the husband has sacrificed himself to get them in this position. So she's doing all of this for family. And then the dangers of the episode are because Baby Yoda eats a spider and then they all kind of react. Then the big ice spider lady is just protecting all her babies.
Yep.
But Baby Yoda isn't, and there's a bit where the frog lady's like, right at the end, she's like, "Aw," over her thing, implying she 100% knows Baby Yoda's eating her babies. But, and this I think is my favorite aspect of it, in the universe, and in just the world in general, like, things aren't evil. A tiger isn't evil.
Of course.
If a tiger eats your baby, it's not an evil act. Nothing, and there's something...
It's the same idea
just
that,
hungry.
like, nature is beautiful. It's this, we have to... Nature is so peaceful and everything is...
Nature's fucked, man.
It's vicious and things get ripped apart and devoured and then rot into the ground to bring new life up.
Exactly.
That's the reality.
And it's not good or bad. It is.
Yeah.
And there's this thing, and I
It's
don't
a
know...
state of balance.
Exactly. I don't know what this is from. There's some movie or thing that I heard, but it was so good. It's like, nothing is evil. Everything's just real. It's Doctor Who. He's like, nothing's evil. Of course it's Doctor Who. Of course. Everyone watch Doctor Who.
Was it Capaldi?
Yeah, of course. But it's like, nothing's evil. Everything's just really hungry. And it's like, that's true. And because he's comparing it to some other thing where they're like, the companion's like, something. And he's like, shut up. Did you fucking complain about that bacon burger you ate earlier? Just with 7 layers of bacon? And she's like,
yeah.
Oh, fuck. Good point. And so this episode to me is like, Baby Yoda's just hungry. We've seen him comically eat stuff. But
the
it's
frog.
like, yeah, exactly. And they've just taken that, being like, oh, everyone thought that was fun and cute. Let's spin that. What if the frog's mum was watching? And the frog's mum was also like, that's the last 12 frogs in existence in the universe. We're going to the only planet that's hospitable for our frog fucking species to do whatever we do in birth out of this tank thing. But I don't know. So that just the whole thing, I was like, I'm loving this. That spider only attacked them because they fucked her thing up. But then you've also got Mando being like, learning the father thing and being like, no, don't eat. Bad Baby Yoda. Bad Baby Yoda. And then the episode ends with your Baby Yoda just being like, and eating an egg. And it's like, he's just hungry.
So I've heard it said that this show may, over the course of its longer arc, start to delve into the nature versus nurture debate. Because, I mean, and it really struck me this episode, there's a little skirmish on Tatooine at the beginning. The Mandalorian is kind of trapped. They knock him off his speeder. He has to negotiate his way out, as he's so good at doing all throughout the show. I really get a sense of like, now this guy would survive in this galaxy because he knows when not to shoot, when to talk, when to reason his way out of a situation, and then I'll do it. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of that. But it really struck me, just like him and Baby Yoda watching him murder that guy with the jetpack, even though we all agree that little jerk deserved it.
Oh, yeah.
There still is a real sense of like seeing Baby Yoda look up at him after that, and you go, oh, what's he teaching this like incredibly powerful being just by being around him?
Yeah.
Like, is Yoda going to start to pick this, Baby Yoda going to start to pick this stuff up? The child?
No, let's call him Baby Yoda. Yeah. I don't like how they've called him the child.
You can't call him Baby Yoda, but yeah. You're,
no. When I say that, I'm like, scratch that. They can't call him Baby Yoda, but
it's Baby Yoda.
But actually, I changed my mind. Calling him the child is so good because calling the child, they haven't given him a name where we'll go, oh, I guess we got to call him Yodislin or Yoda or whatever. Because all that race is just, what is it called? Yodel? The other one?
Yaddle?
Yaddle, yeah. So they all start with Y, I guess. So this will be Yiddle or whatever the fuck. Yammy the baby or whatever. Yo the baby. Terrible. That's actually really interesting because I just saw that as like classic cold opening, fun gag.
That's actually interesting to see if that develops.
I think definitely because he's a
killer.
He's a fucking monster. Yeah, like because that start scene, he just kills them all. He doesn't give a shit. And when Baby Yoda looks up at him, his response is shrug. Like, what am I not going to do? The one aspect of that scene that I really loved is that I don't know, it starts, he's on the speeder and just, oh, we're still here. We're still shots later. So I've got this just ramped up tension of like,
Boba Fett.
Is Boba Fett going to appear?
Yeah.
Because it has the shot of the thing. And I think that's really clever because it made me kind of really fear these random dudes. Yeah. I wasn't like, oh, this is just a thing. These guys could be working for Boba Fett.
And they're going to capture him and take him.
And I thought they were going to take the armor away. And I thought that would be kind of shitty.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they didn't. But also just I didn't see it coming, even though it's so obvious. When the little guy is going like, and just running away with the jetpack, and he's just like, he just murders this guy. I was really satisfied because they've done it before when the stormtroopers were punching Baby Yoda in the sack, and I was like, absolutely not, you better fucking die. And this little guy, he's just got Baby Yoda, he's like, fucking, I'll knife him, I'll knife that baby! And Mando's like, whoa, steady on. And there was a moment there where I'm like, oh, he cares almost too much now. Like, he's willing to give up all the things. Like, I think
he says something like, there's no place I won't find you in the galaxy, something like that.
He does the Taken thing, I'll find you, no matter what galaxy, no matter what,
But I believe it from him.
That start was spectacular. We'll stay on Tatooine for a second. Princess Caroline is back.
And really, I can't believe I didn't know it was Princess Carolyn. This episode, she really is Princess Carolyn it up.
Like, it's so obvious.
Yeah, I feel like an idiot.
It's like, and I've just got to say, I know that just having a cool looking monster and effect like shouldn't be enough. If it looks this good, it is enough for me. He walks into the bar and she's just playing cards with like this giant insect ant monster thing, and it's just like doing this stuff, and she's like, calm down, Dr. Morantis, or whatever. And I'm like,
of course it's a doctor.
It's a doctor. And then I just started getting into this whole thing where I actually had to go back to like see what they were saying, because I was like, a doctor? Is he just a doctor for bugs? Because then I was like, being a doctor in the Star Wars universe would mean you have to know everything.
Yeah.
Or you just have to be really specific. And then I was like, how's he doctoring about? But I thought he looked great. And then only when the fucking credits rolled and we got everyone's favorite Hollywood director, Peyton Reed. And I'm like, oh, okay, things are clicking more into place. But I also was on the rewatch being like, is that just a weird reference to Ant-Man?
I guess.
Because I don't like that for some reason. I don't know why, but I thought it looked so great. But if that's the reason, and they put it in.
But I thought it looked great because it didn't look great.
Oh, okay.
And I'll explain. Yeah. It really felt like the cantina from the original Star Wars, where not everything looks great.
Right, okay.
It looks great, but it looks like a fake ant.
Yeah,
but
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It fits the aesthetic of the Tatooine cantina vibe so much. It looks so much better than all that stuff from 1977, of course. But they didn't go so far. They kept it within the aesthetic of Star Wars, the cantina.
I think the best example of that is if you said, oh, actually, you didn't know that 3-second shot in the cantina band from Star Wars, there's that ant. I'd be like, oh, fuck, okay, cool. You know what I mean? Like, it had that vibe. There are certain, I almost can't think of one. There's one that's off the tip of my tongue. Rolling thing from Force Awakens. That's probably the only creature that's like,
doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit for some reason. I think it's over visual effects, just the way it moves and interacts. Maybe the whole set piece in general. Because I'm a really big fan of that type of stuff, so I think I'm more leaning. But like usually they are so clever and great at making it just fit and jive like the big ice fucking spider. I believed that was the thing that existed on this planet. Should we talk about the best part of the episode though? Which is obviously that there are cops in this show, but the cops are in X-Wings. And that's
when the S-foils locked into attack position, I went, oh my god.
Is that the bit where they go...
That's when they're going to attack. And we know that from the lock S-foils in attack position. So I'm like, oh, they're going to fucking shoot him out of the sky. And I was like, oh my lord. But what we get is a dazzling chase sequence through the clouds. And Mando just... being as
he just homes. He's such a good, great driver,
great pilot. Yeah, he's works with what he has, which is a shitty old pre-Empire ship.
Yeah,
that sometimes he just turns it off and lets it fall.
The little frog girl's like, I love that. I was like, that's so good. Man, it's just like, I got this.
But yeah, no, really, you get every time you see an X-Wing, they do a good job in making them feel like these are the best ships at the moment. You know, these are the ones they're quick and they maneuver and I get a real sense of the threat of the New Republic.
I love the line where he starts going into the clouds and they're like, how's he going to deal with this atmosphere? And they're both just kind of like, oh, and then at one point they're like, come on, mate, don't make us kill you, cunt, please. Like, and they're like,
just identify yourself is what they're saying.
That whole thing though, like as soon as that, like he's woken up, it's like beep, 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 beep. I love the idea that, you know, he gets interrupted from his sleep and, you know, he just hears it and goes, I'm in control, and he's doing it. And then the way they just, I don't know if you noticed, but once they both come on either side and they're still flat, like before going to X's, it's just silent. And we don't get inside the X swings. And I thought that was really scary.
Yeah.
Like I got a sense of like, I was like actually tense. I'm like, these fucking guys are gonna do something. And then it's just that slow build, and as you said, that, and then he just kicks into action, the music builds up, and then we get the chase scene. At this point in the episode, I remember thinking, this show can do no wrong. I can't criticize this. Everything's so great. And I actually think, just to skip ahead a bit, the resolution with the X-Wing guys I thought was amazing. And I don't even know why I was so let down by the episode. Just, I don't know, I think I just want more and more and more.
We wanted the third act.
There's not a lot of there's not a lot of talking in this episode. And I think having the frog lady not be able to speak is interesting in terms of the miscommunication and the issues with that kind of stuff. But they didn't take that final step into that, because then she could just speak through the robot. So it felt unnecessary, kind of to have, you know. But having the X-Wing guys rock up and be like, save him, and then be like, hey, we actually ran your number plate. Turns out you're a piece of shit criminal. But turns out you're actually got a heart of gold.
You locked up Bill Burr.
Yeah. We don't like his comedy.
Yeah.
We'll leave him there forever. It's not true, I love him. But I just thought that was really great in terms of, I don't know, it's like, those like X-Wing came in episode 6 and blew up that place and kind of gives the show a really nice thread through.
That's one thing that I will say if I were to criticize, and I would be nitpicking. Did it have to be Dave Filoni again? Like, how many X-Wing pilots are there?
Is he the same for that as well? I don't actually remember that. I was going to ask you, is it him?
It is.
I like that he doesn't say anything though. It's the other guy who gets all the lead.
But it's been him both times.
It
could have just been a different guy.
No, I don't like that. I didn't realize that.
But the sense of threat from the X-Wings is established perfectly in season 1. So now in season 2, like watching them decimate that ship.
So cool.
In episode 5?
6.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah, and I think this one did a great job of like, I don't know, I felt like that first scene, it's just him driving along the highway, and then a cop rolls up, and you're like, fuck.
And they have a typical cop chat, where it's like, the power dynamic is being tested, and he's like, yeah, all right, I'll get that sorted. And
he's the type of character where I'm now at the point where I don't want him to kill these guys. But if he has to kill them, fuck them and their X-Wings. Fuck the New Republic. But I don't want that to happen. But if they force his hand, I won't be angry that he kills them. But I don't know,
you became a libertarian as soon as that scene started. You're like, fuck the government.
Yeah, but then at the end, I'm like, you know what? The government's run by people, and sometimes the people make the right choice when they're like, you should be under arrest, you son of a bitch. But also, you're kind of a good guy. And the way the music plays at the end, where it's just like, I don't know, it's kind of a bit dark and moody, and then the X-Wings just beautifully lit in that ice cave just disappear. I don't know, I was just like...
And you see the red on him, just like you see the red on Yoda as Luke leaves in Empire. I was like, oh yeah.
Nice
little details like that.
I just got a really great goosebump vibe when they said the things. And then I realized what was annoying me about the episode was that, I just want I want talking, more discussion, more delving into this lawless world.
But we have 3 characters that don't speak in a ship.
And Mando being the one who doesn't speak much is cool. Having him against Baby Yoda, that works really well. But what I came to really realize is that I want to see as many fish fucking cunts as possible. I want all of them to be monster stuff. But also last week, we just got sexy Timothy Oliphant doing his cowboy walk and just being a cowboy. And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed how deep they delved into his character, how quickly they were able to build on all his things. And I suddenly went, you know what? Yeah, it's hard because you do fish lady, doesn't speak all these things, but you're going to lose a bit. And I'm thinking if this was 55 minutes, maybe you could have brought in the third element to really tie this episode up and make me go, this is 10 out of 10. This is a great epi, like the first one, which I would,
But I would say that if this plot continues over the next 3 episodes, we probably won't feel that way anymore. You know what I mean? Like if the resolution is not at the beginning of the next episode.
Okay.
And they're traveling a little more.
So
Maybe
you want Frog Lady to stay for a bit?
I'm just saying that I would retract my criticism of no final act to this episode if it's validated by the following episodes.
For sure.
So, it's easy to go, fuck this, fuck that, but we haven't seen it all yet. So,
for sure.
Let's see how it plays out. A decent episode. The monsters are very reminiscent of Denis Villeneuve's monsters in lots of things, like Enemy and Arrival. They look like the heptapods. Very much reminded me of all that. Do you remember the spiders in Enemy?
I remember.
I got real, that's a very, to me, I was like, you're doing Denis Villeneuve, and not as good.
So that's really funny, because in that set piece at the end, which, everyone bloody watched it, but lots of little spiders, the big ice spider. What I did love, though, is when all the spiders are calling out, I'm like, oh, this is a little bit creepy, this is a little, but I wasn't, impressed. And because we had such a big freight drag in the last epi, my brain didn't really register that maybe we'd get a second big monster. Oh. When the big spider came, I was just like, what? And it's a spider, it's a big ice spider. And I've been a big... Yeah, and I've been a big fan of Game of Thrones for a very long time. And each season, as it was coming out, I was waiting to see an ice spider. We never even got it, but I was waiting. But in my mind, an ice spider was just a spider. To see an ice spider in the ice cavern, smashing through ice, falling through ice, with just that aesthetic, being all blue. But then to have this long elephant worm trunk nose, and then all these claws on the end, I was really kind of like, this is inspired, because they could have just done a spider.
Yeah.
But it's really funny you said Denis Villeneuve, because for me, I say Denny V.
No, I pronounce it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, Denny V. And thank you for watching. But we had one viewer. I wanted to be here.
Oh, yeah. He would hate us.
Oh, it made me cry. But what it really reminded me of was just Chamber of Secrets, Hagrid spiders, where there's just a bunch of little spiders, and then the big spiders. Yeah, different spiders, and then big spider.
And my partner Jessica said exactly that when the big one came out. It's like Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah, it's like, Fangirl Forest, Chamber of Secrets. I've seen this. And it also reminded me of Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, Big Shelob, and I always have to remember, Big Shelob actually doesn't have a lot of little spiders. But in the video game, The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, in that level, Shelob's Lair, you play as Sam, and you go through a whole mission where you're just killing lots of little spiders all the time. And there's some big ones, and you're doing all this stuff, and they're crittering, and it's that same vibe, like caverns, this and that. It's Shelob's Lair, essentially, from the movie. But in the game, there's just so many spiders everywhere. Then you verse the big boss spider, and there's little ones around it. So I don't know, for me, it was like, that's almost what happens in the movie, because I play that game so much. So for me, it was like, oh, this is like, it's like I have 3 favorite properties, like IPs, and Star Wars just ripped off the other 2 to do their own version. But actually I have 4, and they also went, oh, we'll do Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, but with an ice spider, which is from Game of Thrones in Star Wars. So I was actually...
Arrival and Enemy.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, this is really doing a lot for me, except Big Spider doesn't have any arc, so... I liked that the spider was attacking him because Yoda was hungry, and I saw it. I was like, family things. I get it, but I don't know. It was just the thing where I was like, I thought maybe because of last week's episode, we might not have ones that are kind of as simple. One aspect of it that I was really a big fan of was there was the first moment before Baby Yoda starts eating all the 12 last fish that exist in this frog universe, culture, whatever, race. That's what I was like, what am I looking for? There's a bit where Baby Yoda's like, looks around the room and you see the thing, and before I realized he's gonna fucking eat them, I thought he was maybe gonna hatch them using the Force or something first. And Baby Yoda just puts his hands on like the tank, and we see inside the tank, and I was just like, that's peak cuteness. Like, and then suddenly, I don't know.
I can see the gifs.
Every time Baby Yoda does anything, it is creating a meme because it is so spectacularly cute. We've been watching a couple of behind the scenes stuff, and all the actors and everything, they're all just like, you look at a Baby Yoda. Like, there's one of
Werner Herzog.
Thank you. Apologies. He's just like, when you're looking at the little Baby Yoda, and he's talking, and it's like, I'm like, did someone tell him it was a puppet, or does he think it's real? Like, for real, like, he's talking like it's a real baby, and someone in the round table or something was talking, they're like, oh, I was talking about it and giving it directions, and at one point I forgot that I'm meant to be talking to the puppeteers, and just started directly talking to Baby Yoda, because they kept moving the baby would be like, what? And just, I don't know, they're really nailing Baby Yoda for me, and I really love the fact that it's eating fucking things, and it's being, like, that's kind of, I can imagine people being like, oh, don't have, if you really think about that, he's potentially over the course of this flight is going to actually eat this entire race.
I was going to say committing genocide.
This episode should have been called Baby Yoda Commits Genocide.
Like always, some new text after it eats the first egg.
The gang commits genocide. Fuck yeah. Do you have any more thoughts? I feel like we've discussed the episode.
Yeah, it was quite brief, and as a result, our thoughts are quite brief.
Yeah. While you think about that, I have one last question for you. Last week, you were like, I need to see more than bloody deserts. What did you think of the ice caverns and shit? Because I was fucking impressed as fuck. When it comes out of the clouds, and we have that first shot with like the trench run of the ice, I was just like, I can't believe that's not real. I cannot believe that's not real.
Yeah.
And he's flying through, and when the ice falls through and he falls through the ice, like, that's not real. The ice spider's not real. But those locations, like the bit, oh, thank God I didn't forget, the bit where he's like, where the fuck's this little frog girl going? And then she's just having a spa. She's just like, he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Get out of there, I know it's walking. And he's like putting the eggs back, and he's like,
and she's like, I have to keep these warm. This is what I
He's like, I don't care, I'm gonna be able to protect you at night. I also love that. He doesn't know what's coming at night, but he knows someone's gonna fucking get him. And I love that. Like, the world's just so fucked. He's like, I don't know what it is. There's gonna be some kind of creature. I'm gonna have to fucking murder the fuck out of it. And I'm not cool with that, but I'll do it.
I like how swamped they get when all of the bugs are chasing them. And it's just, he's firing and he's doing everything he can to take them out. And it's just the horde keeps coming and filling. And then they go into the ship. And then they're up the ladder. And then they're in the thing.
And then he just has to flame them all down until the door just closes. He's like,
like just tension the whole time.
I'm actually going to say, when they were saved by the gunshots, I was suddenly like, oh, I'm back. What's this element? And then when I realized, it's like, oh, it's from...
Course, yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. I got too sucked into the scenes. Not that I wanted a new element there. I think it worked really nicely because the X-Wings were obviously just circling around and they're like, oh, there's a big spider. Let's go kill it.
I do like that they kind of told him to get fucked, though. He's like, yeah, thanks for helping me. Can you help me some more? They're like, we've actually done enough.
Yes.
We're going. I like that, because it's, yeah.
Yeah, that was super nice, but they weren't like, there wasn't a montage where they're all passing each other parts of the ship and he's like, yeah.
They know he's a criminal,
They're just doing him a favour because they've done him a favour. Like, he saved someone's life, and that's karma... come back around, and they've decided to save him. And I want them. I mean, it's going to have to be Dave Filoni, I think, because they seem to be a pair, and I really like the other guy. I want them to come into it again, and maybe, something happens. If they die, and Mando tries to send him to Khan, or maybe Mando accidentally creates a rift, so the New Republic's like fully out to get him now. Or I want them to be in like episode 5 or 6 to kind of shift this subplot almost with him and the New Republic and. I don't know. I don't know really what I want, but I'm really loving.
I know what I want.
Okay.
I want a Star War. A proper war with the New Republic. Zooming in. It's called Star Wars. Give me some Star Wars, damn it. But yeah, I would like to see more than just a couple of X-Wings at some point down the line.
Oh, okay.
I don't need that.
I
don't even need that this season. There's a lot to do. But I would like sometime in future for something to escalate to a point where we get a real battle. Like a real sense of...
So my favourite part of this show is that we're getting all these Star Wars elements and all these things, but it's essentially just some fucking dude, It's just a dude. He happens to look like Boba Fett, but he doesn't know that really. He's just a dude. And so, if we're going to have a big old war, would you love to have him have to just like, I've got to get from A to B to do a thing, and it happens to be a war in between where you've got your X-Wings and your TIE Fighters or whatever it is fighting and he's navigating through, or do you want him to be like a Luke Skywalker in a battle? Like as a hero in a battle.
I don't know. I guess it all depends on the scenario, the situation. But we do know,
For sure.
you know, the New Republic is implementing itself as the new government. It already has, I should say. It's been 5 years, but the Empire's still out there. There's remnants of it. So there is, you know, a possibility of having that come up at some point with all of the characters that have been introduced. I think hopefully we head to something like that at some point. Because even like the Battle of Jakku, I think canonically takes place a while after episode 6.
Oh, really?
A little while.
Has it happened before the show started, do you know?
I'm not sure.
Because this show is 5 years later.
Exactly. So I remember them saying, you know, the Battle of Jakku happened after all this, after the Emperor died. And
if he was in the Battle of Jakku, for like the season 3 or season 2 finale or something, that'd be pretty sweet.
Or even like, you know, you mentioned not liking the Rathtars from episode 7, but when they mention them, when they bring them up, they talk about the massacre at this place. Like maybe we see the massacre of the Rathtars. And if anyone's going to redeem the Rathtars, it's, you know, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, this show. They lean into everything in the Star Wars universe. And the least that they've leaned into is the sequel trilogy, just because we're not there yet.
Exactly.
But there are elements that, you know, how deep do they go into what we know is occurring in the universe? You know, like it could really go off the rails. And by season 6, he's going to Exegol, and you know the Emperor is fucking being you know what I mean? Like that's there in the universe right now. They could really shit the bed. And forget.
I think luckily, because everyone hates that fucking movie so fucking much, as they should, because it's a hot pile of shit.
Everyone hates the Phantom Menace, and those 3 droids have been in the show twice.
Yeah, Anakin's pod racer.
Yeah.
It's the design of it, maybe.
I don't think it matters what people like. And
no, but I just think
Bill Burr said Canto Bite. The universally...
That I love because they're not ignoring it. But what I wouldn't want is Mandalorian being like, get away from my Baby Yoda, Palpatine, and he's like, let me touch him.
But that's the goal. That's what the Empire want with Baby Yoda, conceivably, to help bring the Emperor back. I would think.
For sure, but I would love for that to be something that we go, that's probably what they want. But we never find out why Moff Gideon wants the Baby Yoda. He just wants it because Baby Yoda's a Jedi.
Yeah.
And I think that for me is enough, because like whatever their purpose is, it's no good, right? You know, and I like that. For sure. Okay, I would be okay with maybe one appearance by Palpatine telling Moff Gideon to do a thing. Vader, Palpatine
or Snoke,
from Empire.
Or, you know.
Oh no, I'd love Snoke to appear again.
I love
He's
Snoke.
like, I'm out of the jar.
Snoke, I really like that character in episode 8. Especially,
look at my gold robe.
Yeah, like Andy Serkis is doing what he does best. He's having a great performance, and I really, you know, had it not gone the way it went, I feel like there would have been more for that character.
This could be a really fun way to kind of flesh him out, where that's kind of a big issue.
Yeah,
is that he feels very oddly fleshed out, oddly defined over those 3 movies. So to give him like something to chew on, we're like, okay, so this is kind of what he was trying to do. And then you can imagine that he's, you know, got one plate spinning, getting a Baby Yoda, well, he's doing all the, you know, he's tricking Kylo Ren, and, you know, to be all kind of, although that's much later, isn't it?
What's that?
The Kylo Ren stuff.
But
what age is Kylo Ren in this show? Is he born yet?
He I think he's about 30 in The Force Awakens, so he might just be born.
Right. Okay.
Maybe, but probably not.
So we probably won't get any of that kind of stuff. But we could get a Snoke.
We could get Snoke, yeah.
And he could look different again.
Yeah.
He could be like, look at my blue robe. With gold linings. What big monster do you want to see next week?
I honestly...
Leviathan!
I really don't know what I want from here. Go anywhere, do anything, just keep doing what you're doing.
I feel like we've been negative, but for me, this is still spectacular, and I like it more than almost anything.
Yeah.
I love this show.
I feel like I can't even remember what the point was in the episode, very early on, where I just am like, this is the best show on television. Like, I just said it out loud.
It's probably when Baby Yoda appeared, and you're like, ah!
Maybe, or it might have been just I think what really gets me in the show are the, like, Star Wars, like, pornographic establishing shots. Yeah? Like, every establishing shot just like, oh my god.
I know.
You can't do that. You can't make
it.
They
can't, it's in a warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been watching a lot of that behind the scenes stuff, and it's spectacular, and I cannot handle it. Like, it's just looking at them, and they're all just like, we just walk in this room, and we're just like, what the fuck? And they all kind of say the same thing, but they're like, it's just so tangible.
You know what? Again, I'm going to repeat what I said last week. I want more ambition from that set. I want to see some crazy stuff. I want them to play with maybe like the perspective, or do some longer shots, or do something really exciting with this technology that you can't do because you know, you're in a completely 3D environment. Sorry, you're in a 360 degree lit, and you know the background is wherever you want it to be. So let's get some really kind of interesting camera work and sequences in this new technology. I feel like you know, especially this episode, I was like, I mean, at many points throughout the show, I can kind of see, okay, the set is a bit of snow, the crash ship, a couple of blocks, and then everything's an LED.
Yeah.
You know, you can kind of, here's where they've built it.
If you look for it, I think you can tell, but I think
It's
once they wash it over,
really well. And I'm not saying this to complain, I'm saying this because the technology is so exciting that I really want them to wow me. And they haven't yet. They have, but I'm over that initial wow, and now I want to really be wowed.
I think maybe not the issue, but I think something that's going to hold them back from doing what I think you want is that they're doing stuff that maybe excites me, because I see that ice cavern and I go, that looks like you walking through a real ice cavern. But they haven't gone so crazy where I'm like, oh, this is like some illustrations I've seen of like Star Wars stuff. Where I'm like, that is beyond what I think could exist. Whereas I think they're still working in this ice cavern thing. Like that spa thing, that all felt like a thing I might walk and see somewhere in the world. Whereas I think maybe you're wanting that almost heightened kind of above, beyond what an ice cavern can be. Maybe
just
maybe
a different environment.
I don't know. Yeah. Like maybe, are you talking about more like in Order 66? There should be
Alyssa Cooler on the blue planet.
Yes, where the blue flowers and it's all fucking weird.
They just keep shooting for like 5 minutes. Yeah?
Well, she keeps twitching. You know? We don't see it, but she keeps going for a lightsaber.
Maybe it's hard to kill a Twi'lek. Or
maybe she's immortal. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't see you under the flower. But is that kind of what more you want? Like planets like that, where it's not. There's nothing human or like, because everything's like desert planet, trees, ice caverns. It's all stuff that exists. Nothing yet has been like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like crazy, like, I don't know, like an Avatar world. That's just the first thing that pops into my head. But I remember being in the cinema in 2009, being like, oh my god. It's like based in reality, but it's been amplified. I think they based it on Vietnam or Thailand.
There's none of that floating... there's that floating island stuff that's in the sky that I remember being really
it's
cool.
magnificent. And that's based in reality,
but it's that heightened 24%.
So take all the wonderful elements. I mean, we watched Interstellar recently, and they shot the Matt Damon portion in Iceland.
Yeah.
And then they added to that world by kind of the clouds are made of ice, so it's like as they're flying through, there's like a top and a bottom, and it's kind of trippy.
When she's flying, she hits the cloud and just what?
Yeah,
ice cloud.
And that was all a real location. So you know, you do. I don't know.
That's why it looks so good.
For sure.
Yeah.
But it's imaginative, and you know, Christopher Nolan is not a super visually imaginative in the hyper real sense. Everything is very grounded all the time, very real, very tangible, practical. So I think the hyper real Star Wars is a fairy tale with a science fiction setting. It's not science fiction. So let's get more fairy tale. You know. That's what I want. Fantasy is a better word than fairy tale. It's a fantasy with a sci-fi aesthetic.
Yeah.
But it's space wizards. And yeah, like, you know, it's wizards. There's magic. There's fucking weird shit. Show me some weird stuff. Overall, really enjoyed it.
But Jon Favreau, he wants more weird stuff.
More weird stuff, Jon Favreau. And yeah, a little bit short. But again, where it goes... It could go in a completely another direction. We could fall in love with this character and go, thank God they didn't wrap that episode up and take that wonderful frog lady off the ship. Or maybe they'll land there in the next episode and we'll never see her again. Who knows?
I kind of feel like it'll be cold opening. Frog lady's like, I'm gone.
Fuck you. I'm paying you half because half my eggs are gone. Yeah?
I wouldn't pay him at all.
Yeah,
true. He raised 7 of my 12 kids.
They got chased by a big ice spider, and those other guys saved us. I'm going to go find the New Republic and pay them.
Last thing, frog design. I didn't love the character, but the design was incredible. Like
Very well
the
realized.
things coming up there and just all the movement. Often I'm like, it's just spectacular. I don't know how they did it.
I think you said before you didn't like the callback or the robot from season 1 translator thing. I kind of like that. I didn't mind that little...
I just thought it was interesting that you're going to have this character be like that they can't speak. There's that interaction that, that they don't speak the same language. And I thought it was like, oh, if you're only going to have them, there's one scene which is like, now I'm talking. It's like, do we need this? Couldn't there have been a fun way for them to try and interact otherwise? Little nitpicks. This is us, once we're deep diving, that's a nitpick. But it's not a big issue. Thanks for bloody listening. Hope you're all excited for Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 3 next week. Bloody subscribe, like, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your mum, I don't know. Tell all the people.
Tell people who love Star Wars.
Yes, tell people who hate Star Wars.
We want all those Last Jedi haters.
Oh, yeah.
Get them here in the comments.
Fight me. Just for context, we love The Last Jedi, so fight us.
Yeah, I think I articulated my thoughts on The Last Jedi last week pretty well.
Awesome, so flick through that and find why you now hate us and disagree. And send us a comment.
Thanks for watching Spoiler Talk.
This is the way.
Spoiler Talk is produced by KCBN Studios and Space Kraken Media.